Now the next family we're going to talk about, the next major virus family, are the adenoviridae, and adenovirus being the virus we're going to focus on. This as well is a non-envelope virus, which means it's extremely sturdy. And that's going to play an important role, again, in transmission of the adenoviridae. Just like we saw with HPV, there are several different serotypes of adenovirus associated with different types of infections. The reservoir for adenovirus are actually humans and animals. And transmission for adenovirus is just about covering all means of transmission. So we can get it from respiratory, we can get fecal oral, and we can get it by direct contact, adenovirus. Okay? Now, as far as the pathogenesis for adenovirus goes, first thing I want to tell you, again, is that it's a naked virus, so it's very, very sturdy. The adenoviral structure, if you can see the cartoon depiction in your book, kind of looks like a spaceship. You have this icosahedron with these little kind of stick figures pointing off of them. Those are the penton fibers of the virus, which is used for hemagglutination. If you just isolated penton fibers and put them into cell culture, the penton fibers alone are toxic to cells. So those adenoviral penton fibers are toxic alone. Now, what's interesting to talk about for adenovirus is this kind of lytic versus transformed situation. So in a human, what happens with adenovirus is the virus tends to be lytic in what we would call a permissive cell. All right? In a non-permissive cell, okay, instead of making or having an abortive infection, you have a transformation event. So the virus in this case gets outside of its host, can't replicate lytically, so it enters into this state of transformation. And so adenovirus can actually transform cells, and in this particular case, we're talking about hamster cells. Now, what are some of the diseases? Lots of diseases to talk about for adenovirus. Acute respiratory disease and pneumonia. Typically what we think about with acute respiratory disease, which is sometimes abbreviated ARD, is we think about military recruits. All right? So young military recruits, people who, again, are living in close, crowded living conditions, can get pneumonia from adenovirus. And the serotypes typically associated with this are serotypes 4, 7, and 21. The next disease that you see listed is pharyngoconjunctivitis, also sometimes called swimming pool conjunctivitis. Now I'm going to let you think about why that is, and I'll tell you in a minute as I talk about the disease. Pharyngoconjunctivitis, so basically for adenovirus, gives you pink eye, but viral pink eye looks a little bit different than bacterial pink eye. You're still going to get inflammation in the conjunctiva. You're still going to get a discharge, but it tends to be more watery and not that thick, purulent discharge that you're going to see with bacterial conjunctivitis. Pharyngoconjunctivitis means that you also have a little bit of pharyngitis. And with adenovirus, that can look similar. You're going to have redness similar to what you might have with strep throat. But in addition, you're also going to have the conjunctivitis. We call it swimming pool conjunctivitis because kids tend to get this a lot of the times when they're swimming in community pools. Because remember, the virus is not enveloped, so it's very, very sturdy. So if a pool is not properly chlorinated, you're going to easily be able to transmit adenovirus. And that's going to go, once it's in the water, it can hit all of the kids that are in the water. All right, epidemic keratoconjunctivitis is something that happens commonly with people that work outside. They get a lot of foreign debris, dust and debris in their eyes, and that really makes them susceptible to adenovirus. Now, one of the things I do want to point out for adenovirus is it can cause acute hemorrhagic cystitis in young boys from about the ages of 5 to 15. So what happens is, presenting symptoms, the child is alarmed at first when he urinates and the urine is bloody. So typically he'll go tell his parents. The parents will kind of freak out about the blood in the urine, bring them into the physician. Now, the only thing that you're really seeing with acute hemorrhagic cystitis from adenovirus is the bloody urine and a little bit of painful urination. But in a child between those ages with blood in the urine, you're really going to have to differentiate it from post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, all right, which clearly is much more severe. You're not going to have the swollen child with the gray, smoky urine. So you definitely want to be able to know to differentiate them. The boys with acute hemorrhagic cystitis otherwise feel okay, whereas if you have post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, the child's really, really feeling sick. The other thing that's associated with adenovirus is gastroenteritis. These are some of the higher serotypes, so up in the 40s. And it's not the most common cause of viral gastroenteritis, okay? We're going to give props to Norwalk virus for that one, all right? You're still probably going to see this in the distractor list or differentials for viral gastroenteritis. Just keep in mind that it's not the most common. Now, you got to love this slide. Is there a lot on here? No. How are we going to diagnose it? We're going to have to go with clinical, all right? Treatment, I got nothing. Supportive care, no antiviral therapies that are specific for adenovirus. Prevention, there is a live, and you're not looking at a typo here, non-attenuated vaccine. We don't use it in the general population, but what it is used in is the military. I told you about the acute respiratory disease in military recruits. Well, that was unacceptable to the military, to get all these guys in on basic training and then have them laying in bed for a week with pneumonia. So there was a vaccine developed, the adenoviral vaccine. It's a live vaccine, so it gives you really good immunity, but it's non-attenuated. Remember, attenuated means weakened. And except for adenovirus, all of our live viral vaccines are attenuated, okay? So they are stimulating really good immunity, but they can't cause disease in a normal, healthy population. So what they do with adenovirus, because it's a naked virus, okay, and what's going to happen is you're going to get protective IgA immunity by swallowing an enteric-coated capsule with the live virulent virus. So they're going to swallow that. They're going to get nice protection at all the mucosal surfaces that will protect them against adenoviral pneumonia once they hit basic training. So that's kind of the exception to the rule. Again, we don't use it in the general population, so it's not something you'd be like, whoa. But you do want to know that it's available for military recruits.